Between December 1968 and October 1969 in California and San Francisco, 4 men and 3 women aged between 16 and 29 were attacked by the Zodiac, with only 2 surviving. After committing his murders, he sent letters to local newspapers in the San Francisco Bay Area, often detailing how many people he had killed and describing the moments of the murders. These letters frequently began with, "This is the Zodiac speaking," leading to the killer being known as the Zodiac. Of the letters he sent, 4 were coded, but only 2 of these ciphers have been solved to date. Despite numerous investigations by law enforcement, no concrete evidence about the killer has been found. In April 2004, the San Francisco Police Department closed the case, but it was reopened in March 2007. In the state of California, the case has remained open since 1969, and the investigation is still ongoing. Although the total number of murders claimed in the letters Zodiac sent to newspapers is 37, only 7 murder victims have been definitively linked to the Zodiac by researchers. 2 of the murder victims survived: David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. Shot and killed on December 20th, 1968, on Lake Herman Road within the Benicia city limits. Michael Reno Maggio, 19, and Darlene Elizabeth Ferrin, 22. Shot on July 5th, 1969, at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Maggio survived, but Ferrin died at the hospital. Brian Calvin Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, stabbed on September 29, 1969 by the shore of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Hartnell survived with 8 stab wounds, but Shepard died 2 days later in the hospital. Paul Lee Stein, 29, shot and killed in the Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco. Asterisk, unconfirmed victims. Asterisk. The following murder victims are suspected to be victims of the Zodiac, but none have been definitively confirmed. Robert Domingos, 18, and Linda Edwards, 17. Shot and killed on June 4th, 1963, on a beach near Lompoc. The victims are considered potential Zodiac victims due to similarities to the Zodiac attack at Berryessa. Cherry Joe Bates, 18, stabbed to death near Riverside City College on October 30th, 1966. Bates' possible connection to the Zodiac killings emerged 4 years later when San Francisco Chronicle reporter Paul Avery highlighted similarities in the cases. Donna Lass, 25, last seen in Nevada on September 6, 1970. A postcard received by the Chronicle on March 22, 1971, led experts to associate Lass' disappearance with a possible Zodiac murder. Lake Herman Road murders. The first known murder committed by the Zodiac occurred on December 20th, 1968, at Lake Herman within the city limits of Benicia. High school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot and killed. The day they were killed was their first date, and they had planned to attend a Christmas concert at Hogan High School, located 3 blocks from Jensen's house. Instead, the couple visited a friend, went to a restaurant, and then drove to Lake Herman, parking at the well-known Lover's Lane on Lake Herman Road at 10:15 p.m. Shortly before 11 p.m, their bodies were found by Stella Borges, who lived nearby. The Solano County Sheriff's Department investigated the case but found no leads. According to criminologist Robert Graysmith, based on available evidence, the incident unfolded as follows. Shortly before 11 p.m, another vehicle parked next to the couple's parked car. The killer exited this vehicle and approached the couple's car. As the couple was getting out of their car, Jensen was likely the first to exit. Faraday was getting out of the car when the killer shot him in the head. Jensen tried to run away but was shot 5 times in the back, dying 28 feet away from the car. The killer then left the scene in his vehicle. Blue Rock Springs murders. On the night of July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau drove to Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, located only 6 kilometres from the previous murder site at Lake Herman. They parked their car at the park. While the couple was sitting in the car, a second vehicle pulled up beside them but quickly drove away. About 10 minutes later, it returned and parked behind their car. The driver of the second vehicle exited his car and approached the driver's side window of Ferrin and Majot's car. He was holding a flashlight and a 9mm Luger pistol. Before killing them, the killer shined the flashlight at Ferrin and Majot and then fired 5 shots. Both were hit, with some bullets striking other parts of the car. As the killer walked back to his car, he heard Majot moaning, returned, and shot each victim twice more before driving away. The following day, on July 5th, 1969, at 12:40 a.m, a man called the Vallejo Police Department. The caller claimed responsibility for the shooting and praised the murders of Jensen and Faraday from 7 months earlier. Police traced the call to a phone booth at a gas station near Blue Rock Springs, 3 kilometres from Ferrin's home and a few blocks from the Vallejo Police Department. Ferrin died at the hospital, but Majot survived despite being shot in the face, neck and shoulder. The first letters sent by the Zodiac. On August 1st, 1969, 3 letters written by the killer were sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald, San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner newspapers. The 3 letters were nearly identical and praised the Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs murders, expressing admiration. Each letter contained a cipher section consisting of 408 symbols, with the killer claiming that if this cipher was solved, his identity would be revealed. Additionally, the letters stated that all 3 newspapers must publish them on their front pages, or else a dozen people would be killed over the course of a week. The Chronicle published part of the cipher in its next day's edition on page 4. On the same page, a statement from Vallejo Police Chief E. Stiltz was included, saying, "We are not satisfied that the letter was written by the murderer," and requesting a second letter to prove his identity. Despite this request, the killer did not send a second letter. Later, the Chronicle published the entire cipher section. Second letter to the San Francisco Examiner. August 7th, 1969. On August 7th, 1969, a second letter arrived at the San Francisco Examiner newspaper. This time, the letter began with a greeting. "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." With this sentence, the killer used a name for the first time. The letter was written in response to the request made by Vallejo Police Chief E. Stiltz in the Chronicle newspaper for the killer to provide convincing evidence about the murders. The letter detailed the murders in full. Additionally, the letter stated that only when the police deciphered the encrypted messages would they learn the killer's name. Deciphering of the 408 symbol, cipher, August 8, 1969. On August 8, 1969, Donald and Betty Harden from California managed to decipher the 408 symbol encrypted message sent by the killer. The message did not contain any names. According to the message, the killer believed that the people he killed would serve him in heaven. The killer stated that he would not reveal his name, as doing so would prevent him from collecting slaves in heaven. Lake Berryessa murder. On September 27, 1969, 2 college students, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, were picnicking at Lake Berryessa when a man approached them wearing black clothing, round sunglasses, and a symbol resembling a cross drawn inside a circle on his chest. The man had a gun in his hand. He told them he had escaped from prison in Montana after being convicted of killing a security guard and stealing a car, and that he needed money and a car to go to Mexico. He then pulled out 2 pieces of clothesline from his pocket and instructed Shepard to tie up Hartnell. After tightly binding Hartnell, the armed man tied up Shepard. Hartnell, believing the man to be a real thief, gave him his car keys and wallet. The man then produced a knife and stabbed them repeatedly. Afterwards, the killer walked to Hartnell's car, which was 500 metres away, and wrote on the door with a felt-tip pen, "Vallejo, 1220 68 74 69 Sept, 27 69 630 by knife." At 7:40 a.m, the killer called the Napa Police Department using a payphone to report the murder. The location of the call was traced by police to a gas station in Napa. The gas station was located a few blocks away from the Napa police station and 40 kilometers from the crime scene. Detectives investigated the palm print found on the phone receiver, but it did not match any known suspects at the time. A father and son fishing in the cove of Lake Berryessa heard cries for help from a distance and, upon seeing two injured individuals, alerted a nearby park ranger. The first police officers to arrive at the scene from the Napa Police Department were Dave Collins and Ray Land. When they arrived, Shepherd was still conscious and able to describe the attacker. Hartnell and Shepherd were taken to a hospital in Napa by ambulance. While being transported to the hospital, Shepherd fell into a coma and lost consciousness. Shepherd died in the hospital 2 days later, but Hartnell survived the attack and recounted the incident to police and the media. Detective Ken Narlow, assigned to lead the case from the Napa Police Department, retired in 1987 without resolving the case. Presidio Heights Murder. 2 weeks after the Lake Berryessa murder, on October 11, 1969, a passenger boarded a taxi driven by Paul Stein in San Francisco at Mason and Geary Streets, intending to go from Washington and Maple Streets to Presidio Heights. For unknown reasons, Stein stopped the car on Maple to Cherry Street, 1 block away. The passenger shot Stein in the head, then took Stein's wallet and car keys and tore a piece from Stein's bloodstained shirt. Meanwhile, 3 young boys across the street carefully observed the incident and, while the killer was still wiping away traces in the car, they called the police to report the incident. At that moment, the killer exited the vehicle and crossed the street, walking north. At the same time, police officer Don Fuch, who was 2 blocks away from the scene, proceeded towards the incident upon receiving the report. He saw a white man walking on the street, who then walked into the garden gate of a house on the north side of the street. He could see the man for about 5 to 10 seconds. Meanwhile, on the police radio, the suspect who shot the taxi driver was announced to be black, so Fuch continued driving towards the scene without stopping. The reason for announcing the suspect as black is unknown. The incident was investigated, but no evidence leading to the suspect was found. After the incident, the 3 young witnesses provided the police with a description of the killer. Thus, the police had a second composite sketch of the Zodiac. Subsequent letters. On November 8, 1969, the killer sent another encrypted message consisting of 340 characters. This message, which remained unsolved for 51 years, was deciphered in December 2020. If you enjoyed our videos, please don't forget to subscribe and like our video.